Welcome to Midway Minute, everybody. My name is Scott Koral. He is Kevin Kaduk. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, as we're going to do this every week of the NFL season with the Bears. Speaking of that team, Kevin, the Bears come home to take on the Indianapolis Colts, and the Colts have been stellar in their last two games. What should we expect?
It's going to be. I think it's going to be an interesting game. The first three weeks, we knew what the Lions, the Giants, the Falcons were going to give the Bears. You look at this Colts lineup, and they don't give up a lot. They're the kind of fundamental team I think the Bears like to think they are. Like you said, the top-rated defense, great offensive line. They just get the job done. Great coaching in Frank Reich. So the Bears obviously have a tough road here on out, and it starts with the Colts. They've got the Colts on Sunday. 4 days later, they play the Buccaneers. So it's really important for them to get out to a great start against Indianapolis.
Absolutely. But there's a couple matchups on the Bears' defensive side that they may want to shore up or exploit. Khalil Mack, just go with me here, has his lowest sacks per game against Phillip Rivers. Granted, all of that was with the Chargers, and they had a worse offensive line. But he has an offensive line that has all but one starter. That's a first-rounder. And don't forget, they added Quentin Nelson in the draft a couple of years ago, somebody that the Bears were looking into before the Colts picked him 2 picks earlier. So Akiem Hicks has the only matchup against a non-first-rounder in Mark Lewinsky. What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, he obviously has to take advantage there because, like you said, that Colts defense is so stout. Looking at that Mack versus Braden Smith matchup, it's like, okay, Mack really needs to take advantage there. But as we've seen league-wide, offensive linemen are not being called for the holding penalties they usually are. Holding penalties are down across the league. So Khalil Mack, you do kind of want to blame him, say, hey, why is that sack count up? Well, you look at some of the tape a little bit closer, and he's getting mugged every time on in. But Akiem Hicks is obviously where it all starts for that defense. He's got to make that push, and they're going up against a rookie who's familiar to me as a Wisconsin graduate, Jonathan Taylor. He's had to step up since Marlon Mack was injured, and he can do a lot of things with the ball. Early on in Madison, he wasn't a great pass catcher, but he kind of evolved into it, and I think he's going to present problems for the Bears all day.
Well, the Colts are second in the league in rushing yards, but defensively, they are pretty amazing. They lead the NFL in yards allowed, passing yards allowed, points per game, and takeaway. They're second in takeaways. So the Bears offense with Nick Foles now in his first full game as the Bears quarterback, how do you beat that defense?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, obviously, Nick Foles has to do what Nick Foles can do. The problem is Frank Reich is his former offensive coordinator and the guy that Foles credits as unlocking his potential or magic or however he put it. But, Nick Foles has to drop back, pick his targets, did what he did against the Falcons. The problem is there's not 3 quarterbacks out because of injury or coronavirus. So it's going to be very interesting. I know a lot of people want to see what Nick Foles can do with a complete game plan. That includes myself. How do you think he's going to do?
The last time that he played a Frank Reich team was last year when he was with Jacksonville. And his numbers look pretty decent. Threw for 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Problem is, his team got thumped, 33-13. So, and the last time that the Bears played Frank Reich, Reich was the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. And I think there was, how do you put it? Double doink. So, there's some bad luck in there.
I had to bring it up.
But it's different. This is now the Colts against this Bears team with Nick Foles. Now we have Foles on our side.
You bring up the double doink. I got yelled at for bringing up the 2003 Marlins in my Cubs Marlins preview. We see how that's turned out to start with, at least. It's going to be interesting. Tariq Cohen's injury, I think, affects a lot. That's a valuable piece and a way that the Bears were able to differentiate themselves. And he's not easily replaceable. You need big games from Robinson, Anthony Miller, and I think you try to get those tight ends involved a little bit more because we haven't seen a lot from them so far.
Well, that's one of the things that the Bears are going to have to game plan, especially against that defensive line. They are so good with, like I said, DeForest Buckner was a great addition to that defensive line. So you got to get the ball out quick, which also means that running backs are going to get involved. And I believe you're going to see a lot more of Jimmy Graham. You saw a lot more of Demetrius Harris last week.
Yeah.
Maybe Cole Kmet gets a couple catches. So the tight ends have to be on their game in this one if they want to win.
I want to ask you this question. I really want to cash the Cole Kmet prop for his first touchdown. I bet it the first 3 games. Obviously, haven't come anywhere close to cashing that. Am I just sinking money away right now?
I think for right now, yes. I think if you go later in the
I don't
year,
want to miss it, though. I don't want to miss it. I want to be able to walk into I want to be able to walk down the street, Arlington Heights, and say, look, I had the Cole Kmet winning ticket. I know that's not a good way to bet, but that's what I want to do.
But here's the thing. If you want to cash that bet, you need the Bears to go against a team where they can use 3 tight ends.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of different plays. This might not be one of them. I know they want to spread the Colts out, and they want to test. I think they're going to test Xavier Rhodes. They tested him last year in Minnesota. He didn't perform well. But he seems to be doing a lot better with this Colts defense. So this is going to be a big test, not just for the Bears, but also for the Colts too. Any predictions?
All right, so I know that you like the Bears against everything, and I'll let you make that prediction and make your justifications for it. I predicted the Falcons over the Bears last week. Got stung for it, although I still feel like that was a pretty good pick. I like the Colts in this one. I think it's Colts 25, Bears 17. I just think that from coaching, from personnel, it's just too much for the Bears to overcome this time.
See, and this is where I think it's going to be a little different. You mentioned that I did pick the Bears. Yes, I did. I have it Bears 24, Colts 20, right? 23. I think the Colts are going to score more. I think they're going to get down there. But don't forget, the Bears are 3rd in the league in red zone TD percentage at 41.7%. So this is going to be a time where they might bend, but they won't break. And I think Nick Foles is going to score enough that they win. They're not going to be the Chicago Bears after this. They're going to be called the Chicago Cardiacs. So here's where we go. Let's hope that this happens and move on to the Buccaneers on Thursday.
I actually think that the Colts had a cardiac Colts team a few years back, so maybe they take the mantle from that. So I hope they win. 4-0 would be a great start. It'd be even better if there was fans in the stands for these games, but you get what you get. I'm looking forward to it. Enjoy the game on Sunday, Scott, and we'll be back here on Sunday for the breakdown. Don't miss us for that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.